My name is Aaron Boxt, and I am a rabbi at Temple Beth Shalom in Ocala, Florida. And recently it was suggested to me that in order for more people out in the community here in Ocala, in Florida, and in the nation to learn about the things that we're doing here in Ocala, a podcast would be a really good start. And I thought, well, I've never even created a podcast or started a podcast. I mean, I've listened to a few podcasts. I watched the television show God Friended Me, which is all about a kid who makes his own podcast. So I thought, well, how hard could it be? Well, that was a joke, right? Recording yourself talking about things is it's not easy. It takes a lot of thought and attention to, okay, well, what do I want to say? What do I think people out there in the world care about? What kind of message do I want to get out there? It's simple. It really is. Love. What's most significant in this world is the one thing I think it's missing from so many places. I can walk on the street and I can see somebody that I don't know and I can wave, I can smile at them, and I might get a smile back or a wave back, or they'll ignore me, or who knows what else they might do. I mean, there's plenty of not nice people in this world. I was taking my daughter on a college tour yesterday. It doesn't matter what school, and we were trying to figure out where we were supposed to go next because we had decided to go off on our own and explore. And one student was walking by and I tried to get her attention, and I literally got within maybe 6 to 8 inches away from her, and she totally just ignored me, didn't even look at me. And I thought, well, okay, well, that's one way of reacting to somebody when they're coming towards you, or when they're coming around you, or when they're trying to get your attention. I mean, she probably had her headphones in so she couldn't hear me, but there's no way she couldn't see me. I was so close to her. But, that was her way of reacting. And then about 10 or 25 seconds later, this other person walks over and sees me and my daughter looking at this map and says, very nicely, "Can I help you?" And told us exactly where we needed to go. So, within less than a minute of each other, we had two very different reactions. And I'm not going to say that the gentleman that gave us directions loved us. He didn't know us, but he acted in a way that showed caring. And that's really what love is about. It's about caring. It's about treating people with kindness and showing them, how you would want them to treat you. And that's really the foundation. So what are we doing out here in Ocala? Well, the Ocala Tree of Life Sanctuary is a wonderful new building that houses the First Congregational United Church of Christ and Temple Beth Shalom. We have our own sanctuaries. We share a social hall. We have some classroom buildings. The pastor has his own office. I have my own office. We are literally two separate congregations. We share a building together. And what does that mean? Well, members of the church and members of the synagogue are on the board of directors of the Ocala Tree of Life Sanctuary, which is the building, the organization that owns the building. And our primary responsibility really is to get out in the world and show the world that it's possible for Christians and Jews and all kinds of people to get along, even when they're in the same building. It's a model, of course. And I'm not going to lie and say that every day is unicorns and sunshine and rainbows, but any small little problems that come up, we're able to sit down and have a conversation and talk about it. And I think that the future of this podcast will include some conversations between Reverend McSwain and myself in which we talk about some of the differences in our different faiths and different aspects of our lives, and not just religion, but spirituality and all kinds of ways in which we have similarities and we also have differences, but yet we can still be a part of the same organization, the same building. And that's really what this is all about. So I think the most important piece is love. I think that's lacking out in the world. I think there's a lot more of it that should be out there. There's a lot of divisiveness, a lot of anger and frustration. And I think that if we're able to be successful here at the Ocala Tree of Life Sanctuary, I think the most obvious thing about us will be that we can get along even if we disagree. And I think that that's the key. Individuals can love each other and can treat each other with kindness, but when you've got organizations that are striving to live that kind of a life together, I think that's really the key. So I think that's I think what we'll try and focus this podcast on. How do we figure out ways to have love in our lives? How do we look beyond the things that we don't agree with? How do we look beyond our arguments? I think of a congregation like a marriage. You've got the people of the congregation and then the clergy person. And they get to know each other and they learn about each other and they learn how to be successful together. And then you throw in another religious organization which has the same kind of situation and they're trying to work together. And that's if they're both similar. If you had two Methodist churches or two synagogues, but now you've got a synagogue and a church coming together with similar kinds of challenges and issues that they face individually as a congregation, but now there's things that we're facing together also as an organization, the Ocala Tree of Life Sanctuary. And I think that's where we'll go. That's what we'll focus on. Those things that we have in common, and those ways that we can find love, and those ways that we can show, that we can model to everybody else, to the outside, what it can look like when this is successful. So I hope you'll join me again next week for the next episode, and we'll start getting down on some nitty-gritty. Thanks for listening.